Welcome back to the broadcast dedicated to dissecting the classified documents that reveal how intelligence agencies are willing to challenge the most fundamental concepts of human existence, in this case, the very nature of human choice, in the relentless pursuit of ultimate strategic superiority. Today we abandon the physics of sound and turn our focus to the physics of decision-making. We address the chilling fact that U.S. intelligence explored the possibility of creating a high-fidelity computational model of the future, one so accurate that it could effectively eliminate surprise and render human free will obsolete in a strategic context. We are analyzing the CIA's involvement in projective simulation and computational behavior modeling, treating human consciousness not as a mystery but as a complex, solvable algorithm. Our primary evidence is the declassified file CIA-RDP75-00626R00020003-8. This deeply theoretical report is titled, quote, Quantifying Free Will in the Future of Strategic Prediction, end quote. It confirms that resources were tasked with evaluating the mathematical and computational requirements necessary to build a predictive model that could input millions of discrete data points, economic indicators, psychological profiles, historical precedents, and political biases, and output a probable future scenario, complete with predicted individual actions. The context here is the conservation of strategic advantage. If an intelligence service can accurately predict the actions of a foreign leader, the reaction of a population to a manufactured crisis, or the movement of a hostile military unit before the decision is finalized, they possess an unassailable tactical and strategic lead. The file's existence confirms that the unpredictable nature of human choice was viewed as the last greatest vulnerability that required technological correction through radical predictive analytics. The analysis focused on two primary areas: computational behavior modeling for high accuracy forecast, and the erosion of uncertainty as a strategic goal. Let's drill down into the rigorous methodology documented in this file. The analysts demanded a path to certainty by modeling human beings as complex yet fundamentally deterministic finite state machines. The file required an intense focus on projective simulation. This involved using advanced algorithms, including precursor concepts to modern neural networks and deep learning, to process vast historical database of human responses. The model's goal was to identify the nonlinear rules governing decision-making under stress. The system then projects these known behaviors forward into a set of possible futures. The key challenge was computational behavioral modeling. This required synthesizing data streams for key actors, economic history, political pressures, familial relationships, and even known psychological vulnerabilities, to create a digital ghost of the target. When a scenario was run, e.g., the target faces an economic ultimatum, the model simulated the ghost decisions tree, returning the most probable choice. This visual confirms the agency was attempting to create a system that could generate and test millions of branching future scenarios, simultaneously eliminating uncertainty through sheer computational power. Crucially, the file dedicated an entire section to the illusion of choice. If the model can predict your decision with 99.9% accuracy, then the feeling of having made a free choice becomes strategically irrelevant. The model confirms determinism at the highest level, is the highest level, and at the highest level of strategic importance. We must now examine the primary finding, the agency's assessment of the predictive accuracy. This is a critical excerpt regarding the confirmation of viability. Quote, initial modeling of historic crisis events demonstrates an ability to retrospectively predict the specific high-stakes decisions of key political and military leaders with an accuracy exceeding redacted percent, lending substantial weight to the feasibility of prospective predictive deployment, end quote. And then a second quote from a section discussing the vulnerability assessment, quote, the model's greatest utility lies in identifying the precise inflection point in a subject's decision matrix where external input, the insertion of specific leveraged disinformation, for example, can guarantee a desired future outcome, end quote. This is the true meaning of the file. It states that human choice is not free, but quantifiable. The agency saw an opportunity to utilize this principle to not only predict the future, but to subtly manipulate the present to steer the outcome towards a beneficial result. The focus shifted from what will they do to what can we make them do. We now address the chilling operational implications of this file, the deployment of the predictive mind model in strategic maneuvering. The most extensive redactions occur in the section titled Leverage Point Identification in Adversary Populations and Feedback Loop Mechanisms for Predictive Validation. This suggests detailed discussions around identifying the small, high-impact pieces of information, the leveraged disinformation mentioned earlier, that when introduced into a population's information stream guarantee a modeled mass behavioral response, e.g. panic, protest, acceptance. Why redact leverage point identification? Because this outlines the specific manipulative actions necessary to break the free will of a target, moving them along the predicted desired path. The concept discussed is the creation of a deterministic battlefield. By having a validated model of an adversary's decision-making process, the intelligence service can execute a series of actions where every possible countermove is already known and accounted for. This turns strategy from a game of probabilities into a game of certainties. The file details the requirement for continuous real-time data feeding into the model, everything from social media sentiment to financial transactions to constantly refine the predictive outcome. The model becomes a living, constantly updating oracle of the future. The strategic weaponization of this research is clear. It is a determinism weapon. A state possessing this capability gains the ability to see the world as a game whose outcome is predetermined, granting ultimate strategic and psychological control over any adversary. We conclude our analysis of this file. The existence and scope of the research confirmed that U.S. intelligence treated the algorithmic prediction of human choice and the erosion of free will as an actionable, high-priority strategic objective. The implication is that analysis moved into the sphere of applied computational philosophy, seeking to exploit the mathematical fragility of human rationale for the sake of perpetual intelligence advantage. This research represents the ultimate weaponization of the human mind. If this documented truth has opened your mind to the technological boundaries explored by those in power, we require your continued support. First, like this episode and leave us a detailed 5-star review wherever you listen. This is how the analysis cuts through the illusion of chaos. Second, share this episode with someone obsessed with data science, determinism, or the philosophical limits of free will. We need more sharp minds analyzing these documented facts. Next, we're going to move from the external intellectual simulation of the mind to the complex subconscious manipulation of the sleeping mind. We will analyze the CIA's classified research into subliminal audio and dream infiltration, the agency's attempt to introduce targeted behavioral conditioning messages directly into the subconscious of subjects while they are sleeping, bypassing conscious awareness entirely. For our next investigation, we're going to dissect the analysis within CIA document RDP88-0000100020005-4, a terrifying file concerning the subconscious as a battlefield and directed behavioral conditioning. What were the measured success rates for installing new commands or altering memories during REM sleep? What psychoacoustical techniques were used to ensure the subliminal audio was completely undetectable by the waking subject? And what does this reveal about the agency's willingness to turn the human mind's most vulnerable state, sleep, into a battlefield for behavioral control? Tune in next for Project Remote View, Dream Control, and Subliminal Conditioning. Until then, remember, maintain your vigilance, question the choices you make, and keep your critical thinking sharp. I'll see you in the archives.